Welcome to the Her Voice Shines podcast, where we celebrate the power, brilliance, and resilience of women everywhere. I'm your host, Shanasia Washington. Join us as we share inspiring stories and insights from extraordinary women who have found their voice and are making a difference. Together, we'll create a ripple effect, illuminating the path to visibility and empowerment. Let's break barriers, shatter ceilings, and lift each other up. In each episode, we dive deep into the journeys of women who have turned their challenges into triumphs and their dreams into reality. Whether you're looking for motivation, guidance, or a community that understands your journey, you're in the right place. Stay tuned and remember, let your voice shine. And just like that, I'm back like I never left. It's your fabulous host, Shanasia Washington, streaming from no other than the beautiful city of Houston, Texas, baby. And guess what? We have another fabulous guest. I do not skimp on my guests. I have been so excited to be back in the recording studio. I know y'all see these drop all the time, but your girl has not recorded, and this week has been nothing short of amazing. Our guest today is going to come to the stage, do our normal drill, which is to tell us her name, where she's streaming from, and guess what? We get what we came here for, and that's that story. Without any further waiting time, here's my very beautiful guest for today.
Hi, everyone. Hi, my name is Conitra Cowans, and I am residing in Dallas, Texas. I am a first-time published author, owner, CEO of Bougie Steps Boutique, which is a women's shoe boutique. Who doesn't love shoes? My story, I am a advocate for domestic balance, and I'm a survivor. So I published my book in July of last year, and it's just going over the details of my challenging life that I struggled with in my early teenage years, being sexually abused as a teenager. And so I am writing about that. And as I went on into adulthood, got married and was a victim of domestic violence, as long as with narcissistic abuse. So I telling my story, hoping to reach someone that is in the same situation, that is looking for resources, and just to get that knowledge of what to look for, the signs, the red flags, and how to get out of that situation, and to let people know, hey, you can overcome this because I overcame it. With the help of my good support system and family and friends, I was able to accomplish that and get my boutique up and running as well.
Oh, I absolutely love it. And thank you, Kenitra. And I honor, of course, in your courage. We do have victims that come, that are from domestic violence, also to sexual abuse. And I do not take it lightly. I always have to give them their kudos and roses on screen because it's not an easy thing to
Yeah.
come and talk about this. The other part of that is congratulations on your first book. I know the feeling once you birth that first baby girl. It's opening the gates for so many different things because that first
Yes.
slip, because so many people get stalled. Is the story perfect? I was just talking to another guest about that, and sitting on the story for so long, but once you actually do the thing, it
Mhm.
just opens the gates mentally for you.
Yes.
Basically, continues to keep producing and keep healing and keep growing. So. Don't let
Yes.
that be the last one. You probably, as we speak, and your life goes on, Miss Kanitra, your life and story will continue to evolve, and I'm pretty sure there are things out of that will need to be shared. Now, when we talk about sexual abuse, I mean, it is a delicate topic. You said yours happened in teenage years.
Mhm.
So I want to ask you this because we're starting to get a little bit of a different demographic, and some of them are starting to come a little bit younger.
Mhm.
At the time of that abuse, did you talk about it then on the spot? Or did it take you some time later to do it? And how difficult at whatever stage that was for you to have that conversation and say out of your mouth that I've experienced sexual abuse?
Mhm. No, at the time I did not. It was a close family member, and I kind of, as a teenager, I kind of told my parents, but I didn't. I was kind of hidden around to it, and they, as parents, they was like, okay, well, oh, it'll be okay, and we'll just do something else, but not telling them. As I got older, that's when I told them what happened, and I moved here to Dallas. I was in Dallas. So I was in Memphis, born and raised. I didn't move here to Dallas to maybe 2010, and that was in my marriage. So I was a grown adult when I told my family that was going on.
Yeah, now oftentimes, and what I've seen with my guests and other people that I've known that's been sexual abused in teenage years or even prior to teenage years, is that there are certain things. Sometimes it's something that shuts down in them. Sometimes it's something that overextends, like because this happened, I'm doing this, and this, maybe so it don't happen again.
Hmm.
Were there any things there for you that you feel like after that point, maybe something was suppressed or something just kind of went into overdrive? And if so, if it's too personal, of course, don't talk about that. But a lot of people, they don't really realize the weight of what they're carrying and how that shows up in their action and every day.
Hmm. And I think that the weight of me carrying that went into the relationship that I chose, the that had the domestic violence. So I questioned myself. I asked, well, is this why I'm going through this, or this is the reason why I chose this? So I feel like that did have a part on it, because when I went into that, I was seeing like, oh, okay, I can help this person. Oh, or it'll be okay. Or I saw the flags, but I just ignored the flags, and it was like, okay, well, I can probably handle this myself, and we can work through this. And I think that did play a part on that.
Okay, and what age was that you were married after because you said it was teenage years for the sexual abuse, and then when did you get married? At what age?
At age 27.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, it had obviously been some time and
Hmm.
everything like that. So that's interesting, because sometimes we go through one type of abuse, we kind of settle for a different type of abuse. Like it
Hmm.
might not be sexual abuse, this time, and now I'm coming to like mental abuse because you use the term in your intake form. You said narcissistic abuse. And
Hmm.
I think narcissistic and narcissism, it's become kind of like a buzzword. Sometimes people just throw it around. I want you to talk about narcissism and kind of your experience with that, because some people right now, and then as a matter of fact, I probably can call a person or two on my phone that are under the reign of narcissistic behavior. They don't even know it. So
Hmm.
I want you to talk about that, and what were some of those things that you finally know that you have reached the basic diagnosis, I should say, of narcissism.
With that, at the time, I did not know. I didn't even know what that was, and I was just knowing that something wasn't right. It was always um, controlling, overpowering, kind of making their self the victim, when all the time making you the victim when all the time is them, because I kept questioning myself, is it me, what is going on, I never dealt with that, so this was new to me. So the making you think that you're wrong and that person is right, always trying to take over the situation. For me, it just made me feel like I was um you know how you feel like when you're swimming and you're swimming, and then all of a sudden you feel like you're drowning and you're trying to reach to the top, and you can never get to the top, and you're like, what is going on? And that person was constantly trying to push me down, like always pushing me down, putting me down. I'm not gonna say all the time it was bad, but 90% of the time it was always going back and forth, and I was always shutting down, not arguing, or just I was just let it go and just continue with my day.
Hmm. And it's hard to hear. What I'm saying, because there's so much other stuff in the world that has to do with the career that you're building, other family life, and all these different things. But just to have that main key person that you're with every day have you in this endless mindset cycle,
Mhm.
um it's just really not it's just not the easiest thing, really to deal with. So when we have guests that have come from abuse, I have to talk about those real life experiences because it happens differently. Like,
Mhm.
somebody else may have been with a narcissistic mate and it looked different,
Mhm.
but when people can hear those different view and angles, and it could be a key to their freedom, because they could be like, oh, that's happening to me too, and oh,
Right.
I'm having to rethink, and I'm getting beat down, all these different things every
Mhm.
day mentally. And I'm telling you guys, I don't know about any physical abuse. I fortunately have not experienced that in any relationship, but
Mhm.
mental abuse is definitely something. Because
Yes.
with physical abuse, I mean, if you're fortunate enough, maybe you can patch it up, put the ice on it or whatever. And sometimes it goes beyond that, and there's no surviving it. But
Mhm.
that mental abuse is it's something, right?
Yes, because
It's
it's emotionally, it's emotionally scarring you. Yeah, you physical abuse, you might have the scars to show, but that emotional abuse, you have the scars in the inside that's tearing you down.
So let's kind of talk about when you transition into writing. And I love talking about writing because now, since I started this journey, I've said it several times in the podcast. I left corporate in 2021, and then I kind of been on this intertwining road of entrepreneurship and just a bunch of different awakenings, really, Conitra. I would say 2024 was one of the biggest awakening years for me in my adulthood. You sometimes
Mhm.
you have those years that just
Yeah.
really dig it out of you. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? You're
Yeah.
really trying to figure out, okay, this is a pivot year. So 2024 was that for me. And it kind of went into the early part of this year. I have found that after this shaking, writing has been therapy for me.
Mm.
I was always a writer, a note taker. I've always kind of did that, very organized in how I wanted my day to go. But
Mhm.
this time, it's very rare. I mean, I'm going to at least write 5 days out of the week. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
that's yeah.
I mean, I want you to talk about that because sometimes that first lift off, sometimes that first book, I did my first book in 2022. And that was more about like my experience and feeling unheard and kind of leaving a toxic career behind. That was something that really really hurt me after building it for 13 years and having it end so bad. And it felt like when I really got that lift, Kenitra, I had to lift that so I can do my work, because you
Yeah.
can't, you know what I mean, like because you're so burned down, you can't really do the thing you're supposed to do because you're so burned down without working.
Yes.
So I want you to talk about it. Maybe it's not even writing. I really want you to talk about that outlet or what you've experienced to be an outlet to kind of cope with that healing process.
I that was amazing because I ran across this group, Boss Babes, and they have a author mentor in there, and her name is Lacole Smith, from AL Publishing, and she has one-on-one mentoring. You can do the one-on-one or you can do the group. The one-on-one is so amazing because she actually goes through with you. Um, Gives you assignments, and for me every assignment was to start out writing. I had already kind of wrote down things that I wanted to start out with, but that writing it was a journey because it took me back to what happened in my teenage years. So it was a healing process, which I had already went through therapy and things like that, but to write it down again and see it on paper, that's what happened to me. uh, I did have to take a break, and then start back writing, but it was a healing process for me, and she was a great mentor to just have me write it down, think about it, write it down. And so I writing it, and I have something else coming out pretty soon. And yes, it's therapy. I would say it's therapy. Even if you're not trying to write a book, get a journal and write down your everyday thoughts, your everyday things that you're doing, and see how it works out for you and plays out for you because it's healing.
Mm. It most absolutely is, and also too, called in that segment you talk about mentorship, and anytime I can hinge on this podcast, I talk about it a lot because I am now so subscribed to having a mentor, a leader, or something. Even if it's just somebody I have a conversation with once a quarter, that I know that can make deposits into me. I'm
Hmm.
gonna do it, and I don't miss those calls, Miss Kanitra. Like you could think I'm going to a big time concert. If I know I got a mentor call with somebody I know that I can have that space with, I'm gonna go.
Hmm.
Mentorship is important. You talk about how it's really helped you, and a lot of things times that happen, people that have mentors and that subscribes to that language, they become mentors. So I'm just speaking it over you a little bit.
Well,
I
thank
don't
you.
care. This right here, I know it's a podcast, girl, but this is just my life. This is just real life, and I only do as I am told to do, as I'm deposited to do. That's what I do on screen. No filter. If you met me out there in my front door, it'd be the same way.
I love it.
That's just how I roll.
Yeah.
I told everybody, if I gotta go out, I'm going out like this. Okay. So that's the thing. So I want you to think about that, particularly because you have had the touch with abuse, both physical and mental. You've gotten to a point to where you've done the healthy things to heal and to go forth, and also to seek deposits. So you got to be the ripple, Conitra. You got to be the ripple effect. And I don't just go check the track record. You're not going to find in this podcast that I'm just giving everybody this directive. I don't. That's not what I do.
Mm-hmm.
What I sense and feel in this space is for you to go forth and do that because you've taken the time to heal from a place that's pure. And not only that, you've identified that along the way, I too need to be fueled. It's nothing like having a mentor that ain't got nobody teaching you. Because baby, how much do you know? Because at the end of the day, you only got so much, right? Because just like I remember, have been searching for church homes and stuff in Houston. I said, who is the pastor? Who is your pastor? Because baby, look now, you only know. You only know so much now. Okay. And you have to stand on the backs of wisdom. So that struck me as very profound. I love that you talked about it. And I love that we were able to get to that point because I never would have been able to give you that deposit. So I hope that you take that and move freely with it.
Yes.
Now the other part is I want to ask you kind of about that next level, that next phase. So now it's the book. You said that you're working on something else. What would be kind of that future state? What are you looking for? What are you looking to do to make sure that you're getting there in terms of the next as it relates to, your business, your boutique? What are you doing to fuel that next?
I am putting my notes into for the next kind of like a part 2 as part of what I am dealing with, kind of the aftermath of the abuse from the marriage. So that I'm getting that together. And then my boutique, I have a new website. And then I also have with my boutique, I'm looking for brand ambassadors. So I do pop-ups all along the DFW. I do those. And then as far as the mentoring, I am going to different shelters, speaking to victims, survivors, anywhere that I can share my story and try to reach in hopes of just reaching that. If I reach one person, then I know that I have did what I set out to do.
Absolutely. And it's the same vibe here. I don't care 2 or 200 come, they don't get the same energy, they don't get the same love because to me, I mean, the masses are great, but I have to be up to take one step to make 1,000, if that makes sense. So that's really what it's been about to me. We kind of hinge on it with mentorship, but let's talk about networking because we're in a kind of a different age for networking. At least I felt like I went through different phases. I feel like just when I was starting to kind of get ready, at least on the corporate side for networking, COVID hit. And then when COVID hit, I started to become a business owner. So I'm like, girl, what is it? Like, who you supposed to be talking to? Everybody talking on Zoom. And then, like, when the events and stuff started coming back around Houston and things got bigger, I was just like, look, I'm overwhelmed. I don't want to talk to half these folks, no way. But I do know, and it's proven, and it has really proven to be very true for me in these past 6 months, how important networks are. I want you to talk about your experience with networking and what do you do to kind of keep yourself in the loop and in the know as it relates to what you're building?
Networking, oh my gosh. Networking, I just recently I am part of a group, Boss Babe Blog. So I have a social media manager, which she is amazing. She goes on to my social media and promotes my website, all the new products I have on there. So that's one big help that I can say for 2025 that I didn't ever think that I was gonna, because when you get out of business, I'm like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I can't do all of this. So she has been amazing and promoting. She promotes. So that social media manager is a big help for me.
Mm. That's also too good with getting that help because sometimes people are thinking like you knew for a fact, I can't do all that. So I need somebody to do it. And also too, everybody is just not the type that wants to show up on social media all the time.
Mhm.
But that is the thing that has to be consistent. So when I'm telling people, like I don't care, I'll show up. I'll leave this and go do something else, or pop up and do a video. And I know that's not everybody's right and right to do it, but if you know that you are not a person that, number one, don't know how to be consistent, or just number two, is just have a fear of just being out there too much, get the help. So
Mhm.
if you didn't hear anything from that segment, you need to get you somebody who's going to do the thing, and find a way to afford that really in your business, because it's a lifeline. I mean, you can't,
Mhm.
people are not going to know who and what you do or where you are if you don't get out there and build that muscle and tell them. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, so I love that you said that, because in the beginning, for me, I was just like, oh my, I was still trying to define products and services. I was still trying to figure out how my business could, be scalable. What kind of things should I do? So I felt like my hands were like in so many different pots at
Mhm.
one time. I'm trying to get just the base of entrepreneurship. Then I'm trying to figure out, like, certifications. I mean, there's contracts and things I can do. How do I speak? It's just so many different things I was trying to do, but I was got to a place where I was just spinning my wheels, and
Yeah.
no oil was coming out.
Yeah.
Spinning, 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 spinning. So I had to take and I honestly didn't have the opportunity to say, I'm going to stop and just kind of do this right now. Life did that for me, to
Mhm.
where I didn't, a life event happened to where I had limited capacity and had to only focus on the two versus the five. So
Mm.
that's why
Yeah.
it's important early on to be able to identify some things, systems and people to do certain things, because not only for you actually being tired, it could be a life situation that causes you to scale back
Mhm.
and you can't do the thing.
Yeah.
So I want,
Exactly.
yeah, I want to definitely raise that. So let me ask you this, Miss Conitra. I don't get to ask this in every interview. I've done pretty good this week, so I'm happy that you get to get this question right, because I tell people to think about their 80th birthday. And I tell them to think about, I don't know who's in the room. We don't know what food, we don't know what venue, we don't know what colors, but what really matters in that room is what people have said about Conitra and her life and legacy. What have they experienced from Conitra? What is that like? What are you hoping that people are saying about Conitra? Should you be blessed to reach such a great milestone?
I am hoping that everyone that I come across, friends, strangers, I hope to be known as I try to remain humble, because this life isn't promised to us. Humble, grateful. Um, I am always trying to be that support person, because everyone needs it, and they even say the strongest friend really needs that support system. So I try to be there because I know how it was for me having that support system. Um, always trying to be that listening ear. Always trying to have that smile, even though your days are not going good. Just be positive, always positive. Just kind words that I try to remain and keep every day humble, grateful, positive, always smiling, um, just there whenever I'm needed.
That's good. And I wrote these things down on a vision board for me. And one of the things that's important to me every day, and I say this often, and I never get tired of saying this, I said, my Ava Legacy at that time is just number one. She has left us. She's not left, but she's here with us, and we know that today she's empty. So what does that mean? That means that every day that I set out to do something, it shall be done.
Hmm.
We get it in, right? Because we think we have all this time. So battling with time, and they know that that's one of my favorite. If I could put my top three things that Sinead always said, no, I'm always gonna say it.
Hmm.
That when she laid her head on that bed tonight, it might not be no big strides. But if I said I was gonna do one, two, and three, it gotta be some hellish stuff going on for it not to be done.
Right.
And I
Yes.
mean that.
Hmm.
And I mean that each and every day. So when people are trying to figure out, like, what's the thing, like, you're always doing stuff, I was like, that's why I'm always doing stuff. That is the reason why. There's no magic in me. Our Father in heaven doesn't love me any more than he loves Conitra, Susie, Bobby, Billy, who, all of them.
Right.
He doesn't love
Yeah.
me any more than he loves them.
Hmm. Yeah.
But what I did tell him was that I was going to be intentional with the time that he gave me, and that each and every day I will make a mantra to myself that this 24 is not in vain.
Mhm.
And that could just be, okay, you're going to organize your bookshelf today. You're going to go get your car washed today. You're going to go and just have 45 minutes of meditation. So we're not talking about no big strides every single day. It's just not going to be that. But
Right.
how you get into a life of attraction is by doing the thing and walking it out.
Mhm.
So when I ask that question, I have people say, when you go back and watch this video, I want you to think about every day, what are you doing to make deposits to make sure that that day, if it shall come, shall be done.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just where I am. I mean, life is so delicate. We have so much stuff going on in the TV, the news, the politics. You got kids 12 and 13 with guns. It's a lot of different things going on out
Mhm.
there. So many things that we cannot control. But what you can control is what he gives you day in, day out. And the best way to figure out how to use that is to put it in action.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's
Yeah.
it. And I am really hoping throughout the next years, the next months or whatever, that I can touch more younger women on the shoulder with that particular line of thought.
Mhm.
Because many of them, especially with this, I mean, all these videos and stuff, girl, they sit here, they scroll. You look up 2 hours to pass, you up here laughing on TikTok. You
Mhm.
done watched 100 TikTok videos, you didn't click till like till. And that 2 hours could have been put into writing your book. That 2 hours could have been over to speaking over your kids. You could have used that 2 hours to get 30 minutes of cardio in your neighborhood.
Mhm. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And find
Yeah.
those deposits and things and days, which that also too gives me a good question for you as it relates to time management. Talk about time management because you are a boutique owner and you're going around, you're doing mentors, and you seem like you're doing the things that you want to do and you're moving close to that calling. What do you do to ensure that your time is well spent?
Time management, and then on top, I have a full-time job as well. So I try to, after I leave work, try to put at least a little bit of time into one, either the website or my book. So yeah, time management is really valuable. You have to manage that time and just make out a schedule. Or if you want to do one day website for me, the next day book, and then the next day something else. Just like you said, 30 minutes. 30 minutes a day is all it takes to try to put at least something into what you're striving for on that day.
That's it. And that right there is key because they always say, how you gonna eat the elephant one bite at a time.
Mhm.
And that is basically directly pointing to time management. And then number two part of that, of course, is just taking a step and say, yes, I'm gonna do it.
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
move with intention because we'll talk about it all the time. But you
Yeah.
haven't even took the first bite. You haven't even done no research. We're in a world of Google. You could at least went out and figured out something and then go find somebody to help. But we don't even want to do that. But I have to tell you, Miss Conitra, I've enjoyed this space with you, and I don't take it lightly. I tell people,
Thank you.
especially, I don't know when you guys will see this, but we're recording on a Sunday evening. And lots of times, Sundays are times where people are relaxing and giving it to their family. So, especially when my Sunday guests come, y'all, I don't, Shanasia does not take it lightly. They spend 20, 30 minutes with me. I consider it a huge honor. I want to allow you in this show, and this is the part where we cue to our guests for final thoughts. We asked them to give us something to give us some good parting words for this time we spent together, and really something that captures the essence of Conitra. I'll cue you the final thoughts, and we'll be back to close the show.
So yes, my final thoughts. I'm a firm believer of self-worth. For me, self-worth is the most importance of your day-to-day life because in my past I lost that. So for my self-worth, I'm a big believer of self-worth, confidence. Always have that self-confidence in yourself. Always believe in yourself. Have that faith, because no one else is going to push you harder than your own self. So always self love, self care. Take a time out of your day to just get yourself together. Love on yourself a little bit, even if it's taking you a warm bath, shower. Just love on yourself and just that self confidence.
Absolutely. Self-confidence is key, you guys. And I tell you that, love yourself more than anybody else can ever can. Seriously, because
Hmm.
that's extra.
Mm, yeah.
It's extra love, right? But
Hmm.
the love that comes from here, and then you really love yourself, it'll influence your decision making, how you show up, how you go places, who you tolerate, who can talk to, who cannot, who can't. Excuse me.
Hmm.
I am tired. I have a lot of different issues here, so I do apologize, guys, for saying excuse me a lot. But that self confidence, I want to tell you guys, it is so key. If I could give a top 5 traits to a woman's self confidence, will be probably 2. So
Yes.
I want to definitely tell you that. So, Conitra, thank you again for being here. To all
Thank
our
you.
listeners, I want to thank you for spending time with us here at the Her Voice Shines podcast. I tell you, miraculous things happen when you let your voice shine. I'll be back really in no time with another amazing woman on this podcast. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And we'll be back.